What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Swift video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at how to build a custom view, and particularly we're going to work with a button since they're obviously pretty common, and we're going to build this button here, which is our own custom button. We have our image here. We've got a primary title label and a subtitle label. We've given it this really subtle border, the corner radius, all that good stuff. Most importantly, we're going to be building it in a way where we can reuse the component, configure it with a view model, and basically have it be available across our whole app instead of duplicating the code over and over. So that said, make sure you absolutely smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Helps out with the channel quite a bit, helps me make more videos for all of you. Hit subscribe while you're at it if you enjoy the content. Get Xcode ready, get excited, let me stop blabbering on, and let's jump right in. Quick pause before we get into the video. If you haven't seen it already, I am hard at work putting together iOSacademy.io, a community where all of us iOS engineers can come together, learn how to build some of the top apps like Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, in addition to interview prep to land some of these iOS roles at top tech companies. So if you're interested in the free and premium content to come, head on over to iOSacademy.io and enter your email address in the waitlist form, and you will be notified as content becomes available. That said, let's get into the video. All right, so we're going to get started by opening up Xcode and creating a new project. We'll stick with a single view application, and I'm going to go ahead and call this custom button. We can save it wherever you'd like, and let's jump right in. First and foremost, pick a simulator of your choice and hit that run button to get it built and loaded. I'm also going to expand our Xcode window here to give ourselves a little more room to work. And we're going to be doing everything in code, as I mentioned earlier in the video. So open up that view controller and we can close the side panel. So to create a button, or a custom button for that matter, all we really need to do is override the button class, so create a subclass of it. So I'm going to go ahead and call this my custom button, and I'm just going to do it straight up in this file. You can create another file for it, and that is all we need to do to actually create our own subclass custom button. Now, obviously, we're going to want to configure it a little bit, but let's create that button here and add it as a subview so we can start seeing it on our view controller. So we can say my button is of type my custom button, and we can say the button in here is this guy. We can return the button, and let me go ahead and throw a frame in here. We'll give it a x of 0, 0, width of 200, height of, let's say, 60. And let's put the parentheses there to add the constructor call. We need to make sure we add this as a subview, like so. And then we can also center this on our view as follows. So go ahead and hit Command R. Let's see what this is complaining about. This is a custom button. We need an equal sign there. And let me also set a background color to this so we can actually see it. We'll make the background color of this a system blue. Hit Command R, and you should see a button in the middle now. So this doesn't look really that great, not exactly what we saw in the beginning of the video. So let's take a look at how to achieve what we saw. So the button we want needs to have an icon on the left of it, a title label, and a subtitle. So this seems like a good thing to model in a view model. So a view model, for those of you that are familiar with MVVM pattern, can hold the data that we want to pass to our view to allow it to construct and model said data. So I'm going to create a struct, and I'll simply call it my custom button view model. And the things that we want in here is a title for the title label, a subtitle, and a, let's see, what else do we want in here? And we want a, let's call it an image name. And all of them are non-optional. And then what we want to do in here is we want to create 3 sub-views that we can use to configure. Now, before someone says it in the comments, you could in fact go even deeper and subclass a UI control which is a even lower level or higher level element. But a UI button, I think, is sufficient for most cases. The point I wanted to make there is you have a variety of options, and there's not per se one right way to do it. But anyways, we're gonna want 3 properties in here for our subviews. I'm gonna call it my title label, and we'll simply create the label. Whoops, that's not what we wanna do. We'll create the label, we'll return it. Let's copy and paste it since we're lazy. And this will be my subtitle label. And then we also want a image view, so we can say my icon view. This guy is going to be an image view, image view, image view, and image view. We want a configure function that whoever the creator of this button is can call. We can do one of two things. We can say public func configure with viewModel, or something else we can do is we could override the initializer actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to override the initializer. We can say init with viewModel, and the type of it is this guy. And here we can basically call super init, and we can use the one with the frame and just init with a size of 0. And we can say there is a property on here of the type of the view model. And before we call that super, we can assign the view model like so. It's going to start yelling that it wants the required init, so go ahead and hit the error and hit fix, and it will stub it out for you like so. So this will bring in the data for our view model. The other thing that we want to do in the initializer is add all of the subviews. So in here, we want to add the subviews above. So that's my title, my subtitle, and my icon. So my title, my subtitle, and my icon. And the other thing that we want to do is call configure. So what we could do is add that configure function back. Make sure it's public for this example, and configure with viewModel. And I'll explain why this is redundantly showing up here. So you can configure it with a view model, and what we can basically do in here is say my title label dot text is going to be view model dot title, and we can say my subtitle dot text is going to be view model dot subtitle. We can say my icon dot image, my icon view dot image is going to be a UI image, and we're going to stick with SF symbols, so a system image. And the name is going to be view model, and it's going to be image name. So how come we have the initializer taking the view model and also this configure function? The reason is imagine you create this button with this custom initializer. It works in that case, right? So we can now basically call down here, configure with, and pass in the view model. However, what happens if you create the button the way we've done it here, where it only gets created with the frame? So one thing it's complaining about here is that it wants to get created with this constructor. Since we're overriding it, we could also optionally override the frame and just call super init with frame. And we could make this guy optional like so. And in this case, it'll take the parameter. So we can say super init with frame, pass in the frame. And we can say self.frame is nil, or sorry, self.viewModel is nil. Make this a private var so it's mutable. And now that error goes away for creating the button with just the frame constructor. So the reason that we added this is this gives us the option to configure the button with the view model after it was created. So that would be this example here, actually. So we've created this button, but we can still say my button dot configure, and we're not forced to configure the button in the initializer per se. The other cool thing is you can change the view by calling configure multiple times on the same button, so long as you pass in the new data appropriately. So now that we have these three subviews, we want to assign their frames and do a little bit of other configuration setup. So one thing I like to do is set the number of lines for these labels to be 1. We don't want it to line wrap. Let's see, what else we want to do? The alignment, we could center align or left align. For the purposes of this video, let's center align the text for both labels. For the image view, we are going to set the content mode. And we can say this is scale aspect fit. Now we've added the subviews and we also want to lay it out. So we're going to override layout subviews. And we'll call super in here, layout subviews. And now we want to assign frames to our items. So the image view and the two labels. So basically what we had it looking like before, let's see if I can make this look good in comments, is the image view would go here. And let me actually do this on multiple lines. So this would be the image view. And then on the top, we're going to have the title. And right below it, we'll have the subtitle. So what I like to do is lay everything out relative. So we're going to stick with the image first. So the image is going to be, let's see, what did I call it? My icon view dot frame is going to be CGRect. X, we're going to give it 5. So it's a little buffered from the left. So it's not flush. 5 from the top. The width is going to be, let's make it a standard 50. And the height is going to be self.frame.height, which is going to be the entire height of the current button. So it's not per se fixed. And let me line break all of this so it looks nicer. Control I it to fix that indentation. And we can also say dot integral so it rounds up any numbers in case the height is a fractional CG float. The next up thing we want to do is the title label. Its frame, of course, is also going to be a CG rect. So copy and paste that. The X is going to be 55 plus 5, so 60. We got that number by taking 5 from the X, the width of this guy, adding 5. Y will be 5 as well. The width is going to be frame.width minus 55, or minus 60 from the left, and then 5 from the right. So we could just subtract 65. And the height is going to be frame.height. We're going to first subtract 10 for a buffer, and then we're going to divide this guy by 2. So it'll be at the top of the of our splits, so similar to this, like we'll have the title up here. And then for the subtitle, pretty similarly, the X does not change, the width and height does not change, but the Y changes. And the Y is going to be basically this whole spiel down here. We can put into here. So the height over 2 minus 10. So we actually want to say the height plus 5 over 2. Actually, height plus 10 over 2. So when it subtracts it, it'll be plus 5. And hopefully that is correct. So let's go ahead and configure this button. And let me actually make some other cosmetic changes real fast. So right now, if you take a look at the simulator, it's like corners are very sharp and it's just not very great looking. So what I like to do, and you're more than welcome to, of course, follow along with this part too, is make this look a little nicer. So I'm going to say the layer masks to bounds is true. We're going to give this a corner radius. So we'll say layer.corner radius is going to be 8. We're also going to give this a border, and the border color is going to be UI color. And depending on the dark mode, or rather the theme that it's in, we're going to say this is going to be secondary background color.cg color. So it'll look good in dark and light mode. And finally, we'll also give it a border width. So I'm going to say layer.border width is going to be, let's do 1.5 and see what that looks like. And Let's create that view model here. So this guy. So I can say let's view model is this guy, open up that constructor, and we can say this one is, let's make it purchase. We'll make the subtitle, say $1.99 a month. And the image, we're gonna pick a SF symbol name because we use a system image. So we're gonna look for, see if there's a purchase icon in here. So it looks like there is a purchased, there is these little down arrow things. So I like this cart actually a lot better. So I'm gonna Command Shift C on this, and we're gonna paste this name in here. So let's go ahead and hit Command R to build and run. Let's see what we get. So we definitely get our button here, but looks like we're not getting any of this other stuff applied. The reason actually we're not getting any of it applied is because we're using this initializer. So what we should probably do is move this layer business into this configure function. And the other thing we should do is we should check if these subviews have been added or not, and add them if we need to. So I'm going to create a function called add subviews, and it'll be a private function called add subviews. Throw that in here. You can go ahead and say add subviews in here. And in here, what we can say is we can guard this is descendant of self. So what we're basically saying is if this is not a subview of the current view, then go ahead and continue and add them. Otherwise, you can just return out of it because that means the user already came in through the initializer, or the code was called through the initializer, so the subviews are already added. We don't want to end up with duplicates, of course. So go ahead and hit Command R once more, and let's see what happens. All right, we're still missing it. So something is not going on correctly. Oh, well, duh, we need to use the view model. Okay, totally my fault. So my button dot configure, passing that view model. Let's try that one more time. Okay, so we've got the title showing up, the subtitle, but where is our icon? What I think is happening is the default tint color is blue. So I'm going to go ahead and change that tint color actually up here on the image. We can change that tint color to be, let's stick with a white to stay in the theme of our button. So we should see it there. Okay, so perfect. We have our icon showing up. We have the label showing up. I think the alignment is a little strange right now, so we could definitely tweak that. But the point that I wanted to make was in this video is we now have this reusable button that we can use throughout our app over and over, so long as you use the view model. Here we took a look at how to add that configure function. The other thing you can do, like I mentioned, is you can actually simply create the button with our custom initializer with the view model. So let's move this view model up here and go ahead and pass this guy in here. Let's once again set a background color. This time let's go with something different. Let's go with a system red. Hit Command R to build and run. Let's see what that looks like. And for simulator decides to not be slow. Oh, actually, let's see, something I screwed up. Yep, we need a frame. So we definitely want to add a frame to this. So let's add a frame. We'll say 0, 0, once again, 200, and let's do 60. And let's also change this to be a bell icon. And we'll call this notifications. Notifications. And we'll make that opt-in. And if we hit that again, now you'll see we still have a button showing up. Alignment, once again, is not ideal, but definitely an awesome reusable component. And there you have it. That's how you can basically isolate out your model part of the view in a view model, your subclass of a user interface element, and you can have this public configure function to take in the view model and do all your configuration work for you and use it as a reusable component. So that said, make sure you destroy that like button if you haven't done so already. I think this is where I'll wrap up the video. Hit subscribe while you're at it if you enjoy the content. Comment down below if you have any suggestions, issues, errors, concerns, questions, whatever it may be. Love hearing from you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.